TikTok has signed a deal to sell its U.S. assets to a group of American investors. Comes as the company has been under a lot of pressure in recent years to distance itself from its Chinese parent company. The United States concerned about the parent company's links to the Chinese communist regime. So the deal would see companies like Oracle form a new TikTok joint venture. The deal is expected to close in January. It would also be subject to terms that protect Americans' data and U.S. national security. That user data would be stored in the United States in a system run by Oracle. The move does bring TikTok one step closer to securing its long-term future. It's got about 170 million users in the United States, and this drama has been playing out for quite a while. Let's bring in tech analyst Carmi Levy, standing by in London, Ontario. So your read on what this actually means here, because for a long time, we know that TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, was highly resistant to doing just this.
Yeah, they didn't want to sell. The Chinese government didn't want to sell. ByteDance said it would fight any law that required them to sell. Yet here we are. TikTok has finally agreed to sell its American operations to this American joint venture. And I would like to think when I first saw the headline, when it first broke last night, I thought, oh, great, we're finally there. We're finally over the line. But when you read a little bit into it, you realize all that's happened here is that TikTok has agreed, which is a major milestone, but there are other milestones yet to be realized, and that includes government approval. Certainly the U.S. government will approve it when it comes time. They'll sign off on it. But it's Beijing that, since this deal first became known in September, when it was proposed to all parties, Beijing has said nothing, literally radio silence. And despite the fact that Donald Trump said in conversation with Chinese President Xi Jinping, he said the Chinese president had indicated his approval for the deal, we still haven't heard from the man himself. And so, if that doesn't happen, then by the time we get to this closing date of January 22nd of next year, just over a month from now, then no deal. So all eyes now turn to Beijing, waiting to see if this is ultimately going to happen. We also need regulatory approval from both countries too. So still some road left to drive here before we can call this complete and the U.S. operations can move over to their new U.S. owners.
Yeah, and I wonder whether you think this will be enough and whether the Chinese government will actually adhere to what they're saying they will do, whether TikTok's parent company will actually do this, and whether the U.S. will be happy.
Well, this entire deal was ostensibly about U.S. national security concerns that data collected by the TikTok app, which is an aggressive harvester of information, would subsequently be viewable by the Chinese government because it's a Chinese-owned company. And so that's what touched this entire thing off. And looking at the subtle details of this deal, it's pretty clear there's still a lot of Chinese involvement in this joint venture. They'll still own 19.9% of the company. 30% of the investors, they're just saying they're affiliates of ByteDance's existing investors, but they won't say who. So who really knows how China will be involved? The algorithm is going to be the actual original algorithm, but trained on U.S. data. So what exactly that means, not quite sure, but there's still lots of opportunities now for Chinese involvement in the technological underpinnings of this new U.S. entity. So does it address the national security concerns? I'm not 100% it does. And quite frankly, I think this is more of a political exercise than a technological one. And if you are worried about the Chinese government seeing data beforehand, you're still going to worry after January 22nd.
Does it change anything for TikTok users and its future popularity?
I think it could, because what we may end up having, Todd, is a watered-down version of TikTok. The algorithm will certainly not work the same, even though it's licensed from China. It's trained on very different data. It works within its own sort of entity within the U.S. And then, of course, there's the question of how will data flow across borders. Canadian TikTok users will continue to use the global version of the app, as they always have. But when we communicate with American viewers or TikTokers, what are we going to see? How is that interaction going to be? Are things going to go as viral after this change, when sort of there are two versions of TikTok working alongside each other, or will it become more difficult to kind of get followers to drive content to your audience? I think we may end up seeing a dilution of that effect, or that ability, that magical ability of the algorithm to go viral in the U.S., which will mean people may not necessarily want to spend as much time on TikTok after this deal goes through.
Carmi Levy, tech analyst, joining us from London, Ontario. Thank you, Carmi.
Appreciate it, Todd. Thanks.